Okay, it's live. Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday, the 6th of August, 2024. And it's been a week, at least, I think, that I've done a live video. And a lot, obviously, has happened again. I was traveling and long drive, but I'm back. And I did share a lot of things on Instagram and Twitter. Well, formerly Twitter, now X. And a lot of conversations over Signal and Telegram. And a lot of it had to do with not I wouldn't say infighting, but I would say that as soon as I started talking about the Olympics, I even people that have been following me for a very long time, people in government, in incorporated, upset because I was saying that the Algerian fighter boxer was not a woman, and people were saying, do you know what Swire syndrome is? Do you know what? Yeah, I fucking know what all that stuff is. And I'm sorry for swearing right out the gate. But I like literally someone that's even a SARTech, who's some really smart of service man. And so I'm not going to out him or anything like that. But someone who's a great guy and someone who I've talked to for a number of years. But like even he got into it with me on Instagram about me saying that it was a man. And he said, well, I know someone that knows him and trains with him. He's what he was saying, and says that it's a woman or presents as a woman. I'm like, absolutely not. I said I am familiar with Swire syndrome, and I'll let people like Riley Gaines Barker share. I shared like exactly what Swire syndrome was. That men, that it's men and women that could be diagnosed with this, and it's not something that should be taken lightly. This is obviously something that's serious, and I would never wish that on anyone, right? When you have underdeveloped testes and underdeveloped penis, and to make you present as a woman, but he has an XY chromosome, and just because his penis and his testes are underdeveloped does not mean that he's a woman. This is something that people have been trying to do for years to get men in women's sports, and the fact that a man punched a woman in the face in the Olympics should be enough for people to take a look at what's going on with this. And it's not the first time that people have tried to get men into women's sports. It's been generations. And there's even people showing people even from the past from various different countries where like men in wigs or men wearing a bit of makeup, clearly men presenting or attempting to present as women. And it's I don't understand if people realize it's how obvious it is if you're awake, I guess. I don't know, like how do people get away with like convincing people? I don't know. It's so obvious to me. and even with like the Last Supper, and bastardizing that, people are saying like, oh, like it was regarding like the Greeks and the Greek, supper, and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, first of all, even like the Last Supper is a representation of Jesus, represented as the sun, by the way, symbolic of the sun, and the 12 apostles or disciples, whatever you want to call it, is representative of the 12 zodiac signs or images, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, there's a lot of representations of a supper where there are beings that are at the table with some kind of a deity or a prophet, that is in the center. And I will reiterate, it's symbolic of the of astrotheology. And so there are people that are very religious, and there's over like 1.5 billion Christians throughout the world. And there are a lot of them, and it's their entitlement and their right based on their religious beliefs and what they follow in their texts. They believe that homosexuality is a sin, and I don't subscribe to that. I've said that repeatedly. I don't identify with any religion. I consider myself to be spiritual, definitely not religious, and I do believe there's a lot of psychological operations going on in a lot of these texts in order to keep people controlled. And I know that sounds conspiratorial, but it's true. And I've shared a lot of videos to prove that or substantiate that based on my own opinions and research. And so why is it so bad that there are people that are religious that consider it a sin, that that they speak out on it? Like, I just don't understand when you are doing the same thing, you're trying to push your own. Actually, they're not even trying to push on you. They're just saying like, look, you're not part of the religion, and you're committing a sin if you do that. When there's other people that are saying, well, I can do whatever the fuck I want and fuck whoever I want and be whoever I want. I can be this, I can be that, I can be polyamorous, I could be I could be a he one day, I could be a she the next day, I could be a furry the next day. And there's also a lot of people that are exploiting a certain small group, and they are creepy. They are pedophiles. They are men that are going through whatever. Maybe they watch too much porn and now their brains are melted, because there's even people that have said that they assist, or they do like the software programming and the algorithms for Pornhub. And there's even a guy that even said that, yeah, like even with their algorithms, when men search for straight porn, they're putting a lot more content in their newsfeed, even if they're not searching for it, that is more homosexual, that's more trans, and they're doing it, and they're saying that it is causing men that watch porn to be more perverted, to be more, anyways, anyway, I won't get into that stuff. I will show my Instagram. I'm a little rough this morning just because it's been like a week since I've done any videos. I'm out of practice, and I also drove 13 and a half hours with my dogs straight through to Gas Bay and back. And it's a long trip, so it takes me a few days usually to wind down from that and get some rest. Excuse me. But I digress. There's so much going on. Yeah. So the Olympics, that it was just a display of just so much disgusting stuff. I've already talked about it before. Even a grown-ass man having his testicle out right beside a child, not only at the beginning of the Olympic ceremony openings, or ceremony, but then also dancing right beside this fucking child with your ball out. Like, I don't understand how there are people that don't get charged and arrested for this stuff. It is not like that. It's not legal. And it's really frustrating when I know people, like even in the Coots case, and I'll get to that as well, where it's been deemed that it's a fact that they did not. There's no evidence, and they did not try any attempted murder of our RCMP people during the Freedom Convoy, and but there are cops, and they call them femme fatales and honeypots, that were trying to enable and get them to paint themselves as criminals, or say the wrong thing, or do the wrong thing. They were pushing for it, and they had zero recordings on them. They had zero proofs to substantiate anything that they claimed, and they ruined the lives of multiple people and their families and their friends, and where they were in jail, ladies and gentlemen. And this was all bogus. So I really hope that at some point in the cycle of life, that people like that, just because you work in government does not make you above the law. You're supposed to enforce the law. You're supposed to be the law, okay? And you swore an oath to serve and protect, and these woke DEI hires, it just disgusts me. It really does, and it's ruining lives. And this was during the Freedom Convoy, by the way, which was staged and planned by Justin Trudeau and Marco Mendicino and David Lametti and these fucking idiots, okay? And they wanted to cause division. They wanted to cause a riot. They wanted to declare the Emergency Act, and by the way, that replaced the War Measures Act. They wanted to do that. So declaring war on anyone that spoke against the mandates and the illegal overreach and the illegal measures, and kicking people out, ruining their lives for a bioweapon. And I can't say too much on YouTube, but it is what it is. And I've shared repeated proof that the VAERS, were, deplorable and of concern since February of 2021. And then again in March 2022, around the Freedom Convoy time. And the only reason why Pfizer had to release those VAERS from March 2022, which did not paint them to which really shed a light on how dangerous these bioweapons were. They had to get sued. And that was a distraction. They knew it was going to have to come out during the 1st or 2nd of March, whatever it was. And so what they do, Freedom Convoy, then declare friggin' war, or like a proxy war, I guess, with Russia and Ukraine. Again, this was distraction, because the multi-billion-dollar, if not trillion-dollar pharmaceutical industrial complex, they really wanted us to have these COVID vaccines for life. And people went to jail for speaking out against that, showing medical, scientific, and government data. I've talked about this before as well. But even Helen Bruce, Ottawa Police Services for over 20 years, working with the sexual assault child abuse unit for over 7 years out of that, and seeing these sudden infant deaths, or these deaths that were possibly correlated with the vaccine. And she was doing her job, even trying to get to Chief Slowly, who was the chief of police at the time in Ottawa, and people were shutting it down. And Chris Renwick, who's leading this circus, this clown fucking court, he is he's corrupted. He's bribed or blackmailed or bought off or whatever, and he's making a mockery of the of our legal system. And it's been already over a year that she's been in the courts, and her next court appearance is in January of 2025. And again, not a woman that did anything wrong or said anything wrong. It was literally just within her own department sharing information that would have ended the mandates immediately, and then would have stopped the push of these pharmaceuticals immediately. And yeah, but we still have Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau and all these fucking criminals in power. Why? I don't know. So this looks familiar too. This is going back to what I think to be the staged and planned assassination attempt. I believe that Trump knew about it as well. And there was no blood on his hand when he touched his ear. I've shown multiple videos of that. And it's still circulating around. And his ear looks fine now. But even if, he should have done at least a little bit of effort to have like a plastic surgeon cut a piece of his ear or get someone to do it, or, but of course not. So the guy that assisted with the photo op during the 13th of July has also been seen trying to stage protests and riots to elicit emotional responses in people to arrest them or to get other people to arrest them. So not your job, not remotely your job. In fact, your job is the opposite of that, you dumb fuck, but it is what it is. Yeah, and I'm swearing a lot. I'm sorry. Oh my God, it just gets so frustrating. So protesters not guilty of conspiring to kill Mounties at Coots blockade. Jury found 2 men not guilty of conspiring to kill police at the border blockade during pandemic protests. And there's 2 guys that just got released in the last few months. They were also in jail for over 2 years. And again, ruined their lives. And these were business owners of a mining company. So they were doing good, hard work for people that were necessary, and ruined their lives. And so much money. Yeah, so I talk about this. And it's just disgusting that we were saying this from the beginning. I was calling this out even weeks before it got here. And anyway, more big news. I'm getting into so much big news right now. But also recently, today it was confirmed that the 9 employees of UNRWA, or the UN, did in fact take part in the October 7th attacks. How weird is that? And what was I saying since the beginning, right from like day one, that this was something that was staged and planned, and that, look at my fucking whiteboard, NATO, WEF, UN, philanthropists. Anyways, it's going down the list. Banks, heads of institutions, same agenda. They're pushing the same agenda. Okay, so I was right yet again, and I'm not saying that as a brag. It's profoundly upsetting that people are like myself are still not getting listened to. I'm an international security advisor. I've been of service within various capacities, like within the federal government, for 23 years, and I don't understand why they're hiring DEI woke hires for positions that are the opposite of what you need to hire these people to do. Anyway, so this was my post. Netanyahu knew and enabled / assisted in the attack on his people so that he and his lobbyist warmonger friends could get money and power, just like 9/11. Welfare state of NATO. And that's what I think Israel now. I think it's a welfare state of NATO. I think it's been a welfare state for fucking decades. And just getting handouts from everyone, including Canada. And it's that we're enabling, aiding and abetting war criminals to initiate and implement war proxy wars that doesn't help anyone. Doesn't help the Israelis, doesn't help Jews, because again, I differentiate Israelis from Jews, and anyone that's like killing their own, like the IDF soldiers that were shooting on their own during the crowd during this hostage event, should also be arrested, prosecuted, and more confirmed rapes of Palestinians by IDF soldiers, where there was 9 IDF soldiers, I believe it was last week or the week before, that were criminally tried. And it was proven to be, anyways, they were proven guilty of raping a Palestinian woman. And they say woman, but there's a lot of underage people in Palestine, from Palestine, that are in prisons or holding camps in Israel. But they raped her so badly, 9 IDF soldiers, that she couldn't walk. So, yeah, and that's par for the course. And people are not hearing this. Yeah, so I said the UN is heavily involved in aiding and abetting criminals internationally. These criminals work inside the government, and then I said the world is a stage. So it's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. And yeah, this is a video of where I was. It's a nice creek, or it's actually a river. it's just low now because there's been a lack of rain in some areas. Now to my stories. I have highlighted stories as well that I save that I think are important because we're not getting it anywhere else. So this was just a joke. After defeating all the women, 2 biological men will compete for Olympic gold in women's boxing. Both men. This is another thing that has come out. The media basically does not care that 3 little innocent girls were stabbed by this psychopath. They are even trying to portray him as a child when he is about to be 18, an adult. So 3 little girls in the UK got stabbed by men recently. And if you see this picture, I know this is small and I apologize, but trying to paint him as some kind of like an educated, this looks like he comes from like private school and he looks like he's like, what, like 11 years old here, when this is actually what he fucking looks like. Like the mainstream media cares more about pushing a woke DEI agenda than they actually, they don't care about society, I guess. And you've got to wonder why. So I really liked this one. And this is from Riley Gaines Barker, a woman.
A male. It's really that simple. People say this is the complex issue. It's really not. If you have a Y chromosome, you are a male. What I have been able to gather, speaking to coaches who are there at the Olympic Games, that this is a male athlete who has a DSD, which is not a disorder, but again, a male with a Y chromosome, but appears to have female external genitalia. But in reality, what it is an underdeveloped penis with internal testes, meaning this is a person who went entirely through male puberty, but just appears to have female genitalia.
We saw firsthand, though, at 46 seconds what the Y chromosome does, didn't we?
Of course we did. I mean, it was a tragic display. I felt heartbroken. It dislodged her helmet, obviously distraught, and she calls off the fight. She forfeits. She says it's not worth it. She is a hero, I believe, not just for herself personally, but she is a hero for every young girl watching that for forfeiting. This is a male. It's really that simple.
What do they expect? And by the way, like this woman lost her chance for a gold medal. I think that they eventually gave it to her. Quote me, like I haven't followed up too much, honestly, because again, I've been on the road and I've been fairly off grid. But I mean, it's too late. Anyway.
Doesn't matter. Why do you all keep questioning her identity? She's old.
This is a male. It's really that simple.
That's not the
and you just repeated the slur again.
We'll see if it comes.
And you just repeated the slur.
Okay, so I'm gonna segue into this, but this is from Benny Johnson, and this is George Stephanopoulos, I think his name is. Oh yeah, it's written right there. Anyway, he is, again, he's such a friggin' troll, and he lies. And a lot of mainstream media people and propagandists, they attempt to they're talking to the audience. They're not even listening or talking to the person that they have on. And they're saying things or alleging that they're saying things that don't even come out of their mouths. So he's trying to say that I think his name is Byron, that he's saying slurs. So listen to him. I'm gonna play it twice, but listen to him and see if there's any slurs or anything like that this Byron guy is speaking during this. I don't know what you would call it, a friggin' circus, but it's some kind of an interview. But anyway.
Again, if it doesn't matter, why do you all keep questioning her identity? She's always identified as a black woman. She is biracial.
This is talking about Kamala Harris. I should back that up.
She has a Jamaican father and Indian mother. She's always identified as both. Why are you questioning that?
Well, George, first of all, this is something that's actually a conversation throughout social media right now. There were a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. But again, that's a side issue, not the main issue. The main issue.
Sir, one second. You just did it. You just did it again.
You just did it again. I bet you this is nothing but soy and again, these beta men. And so I'm gonna back it up. Never mind. I'll play it out and then see if he said anything that this guy, this fucking idiot, this DEI woke hire, if he said
the United States.
Why do you insist on questioning her racial identity?
You want me to talk?
I want you to answer my question.
Yelling at George, now that you're done yelling at me, let me answer. He talked about it on the stage yesterday in Atlanta for what, 2 minutes? He spent more than 35, 40 minutes going after her record, talking about how radical of a senator that she was. She was the most liberal senator in the United States, in the United States Senate. That is a fact. He talked about the job that she did as vice president of the United States, a job, I will add, which has been a failure for the American people. I know you guys like to glom on to this that he talks about in jest or in a serious manner for about a minute or so. But what you do not cover is the litany of failures of Kamala Harris. That's what you're not covering, George.
So questioning somebody's racial identity for a couple minutes is okay?
George, I'm going to tell you again, he brought it up. And he is the one that wrote the hell and came in to the United States Senate. Didn't talk about being black, talked about her being an Indian American senator. AP brought that up. I mean, George, we could have this conversation for the entire segment, but none of this matters to the American people. What matters to the American people is, are we going to have the same policies of the Biden-Harris administration that has been destructive of the American people? Or are we going to have the policies of the Trump administration, which put America first, had low inflation, prosperous Americans, no matter your race, no matter your creed, and a foreign policy that kept America safe? Those are the facts that truly matter, because this issue is going to come and go. The lives of the American people is what's going to remain. And that's what matters more than anything else.
If it doesn't matter, I don't understand why you keep on repeating it, why the president keeps on repeating it, why those introducing the president yesterday
George,
keep
actually,
on
I'm
repeating
not the one who keeps repeating it. George, you're the one that's bringing it up now.
Yep.
That's
You've done it,
I understand why
sir.
you
You've done it.
up.
You've done it
Because,
3 times. Every single answer
George,
you gave me. Now let me finish, sir.
George,
Every single answer you gave, you repeated the slur.
Asked me, George. That's why I'm.
And this mouthpiece would never talk to this guy in person like that, right? He's got the friggin' teleprompter. And again, like it has nothing to do with anything other than, like, there are people that are armchair quarterbacks that talk so big on their platforms, but would never speak to people in person the way they speak.
Pushing back on you now. George, you
Right,
asked me the question 3 times. I responded, but I'm.
And every single time you repeat the
matters in this
slur,
country.
that is exactly my point. You simply can't say that it's wrong.
George, so then what you're saying, and I want to get off this topic because it's not the only thing that's going on. But George, now you're saying that AP is the one that slurred Kamala Harris, because those are the facts. You can go to the internet and look at the clips, George, if you want to, or we can talk about this now. I prefer to talk about the future of our country, because the American people are struggling. The American people do need serious policy decisions to be made, and they need serious leadership on the world stage. Kamala Harris has not proven that she can do that. Donald J. Trump has proven that he can do that.
No, yeah.
He did not say that Kamala Harris is not black. She is biracial. She is Indian. She is black. You continue to repeat the fact that you continue to repeat this. I don't understand the. It's clear you're not going to say that it's wrong, and you've now established that for our audience.
Let it replay out. And this is what I mean. Like, it's even for me. Like, I used to be a military advisor to mainstream media. I've been on Global News. I've been on CTV. And because in 2019, I was the only one as part of this news hit piece where they were trying to push this DEI woke narrative, claim that people within the military are all a bunch of white supremacist, right-wing extremists and all this other stuff. And because of one isolated case that when you look into it, it actually isn't at all what they were trying to paint it as. And they had me against 4 other people that were considered to be more experts. Like, for me, they just called me a veteran, and they called me Miss Don Dussault. So they didn't even use my rank when I got out, but they're using ranks of people that had the same rank as me when they're talking about them and what they're saying. And and it's not to continue talking or calling people out, but Leo West, I went to RMC with her. We were both in the same year. In our 4th year, both of us, I won the top Army Cadet Award for the regular force officer cadets, and she won the top Army officer award for being top Army cadet for the reserves. And so both of us, have performed well, not only at our military university, but also for me, I in my career. And I won't slag her, but there's a lot of stuff I have on her where she's done things that really go against serving and protecting and things like that, where she was even kicked off tour, her only tour, after 2 months. But now she's an advisor for Carleton University, and she is like a high ranking lawyer at a national level, and it's someone that I had been friends with for many years, and unfortunately we lost our friendship during the COVID time, because I was trying to get her help, because again she has the legal information, the legal contacts, connections, and things like that to assist. And instead, she decided to push the same agenda, the woke DEI agenda that everyone else was pushing. And there was because who is like the sister university to RMC out of Kingston, and he teaches about security and international security at Queen's University, and he has no fucking idea what he's talking about. And he's even spoken, you know, in cabinet as an expert during these committees and these hearings that they have. And this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And there were other people as well, but you put doctor or PhD or professor or captain retired or whatever, like in people's handles, and then you get and try to put things in your mouth that you didn't say. And then even the like the video that they have for this article that I'm talking about, or this hit piece, that the video can in Canada, and a lot of people even in the US say they had problems seeing it, but you get the write up, and the write up, you said what this like guy from like, you know, like the national security defense, like what he said, and what they said was bullshit. And they're only hired by people like Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland and Marco Mendicino because they were saying exactly what they wanted them to say, and it was getting them money.
You just repeated this. Identified as a black woman. She is biracial. She has a Jamaican father and Indian mother. She's always identified as both. Why are you questioning that?
Well, George, first of all, this is something that's actually a conversation on social media right now. There are a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. But again, that's a side issue, not the main issue. The main issue—
Sir, 1 second. You just did it. You just did it again.
Of the United States.
Why do
George,
you insist on questioning her racial identity?
You want me to talk?
I want to.
Yelling at George. Now that you're done yelling at me, let me answer. On the stage yesterday, I left for what, 2 minutes? Even more than 35, 40 minutes going after her record, talking about how radical of a special as in the United States Senate. That is a fact. He talked about the job that she did as vice president of the United States, a job, I will add, which has been a failure for the American people. I know you guys like to glom on to this that he talks about in jest or in a serious manner for about a minute or so, but what you do not cover is the litany of
Questioning somebody's racial identity.
She's the chameleon who went around saying that she was Indian heritage, and then like switched that, and then there's other videos of her talking to the black community and even putting on a friggin' black, not a black appeal to the audience. She's a chameleon. Surprised she doesn't pretend to be friggin', you know, like, I don't know. Like, there's just so many examples of this where she's a chameleon. And that's all Trump was saying at the beginning. And if you expected him to say otherwise, then you clearly don't know him. And again, I don't support Trump stage, the circus that we're experiencing now. I believe the court hearings that he was part of, where people think that, like, you know, it was like the state or the government against Trump. I think he was part of it, even with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard court hearings. Like, that was a fucking circus, right? People are doing this to try to dupe people into thinking that he's getting attacked or targeted. Like, oh, no, he's not. Anyway, Space Force, COVID vaccines, everything that he was pushing. If you guys think that he's the answer, you're out of your fucking mind. And I mean no offense. What the fuck will find that unpopular that I've shared that are very similar to anyway. People that were a part of other, you know, significant events where that were also staged and planned. And I've already talked about the photographer and the SS and their involvement with other deep state cover-ups and the time that the gun apparently at all, even like the morning prior. Of course, I'm gonna have internet issues. It was perfect, and then as soon as I start talking about Trump, my internet kicks off. Anyway. Enough of that. Let's see what else I have here. Exxon Palace. Oh.
And you just repeated the slur again. If it doesn't matter.
What else are you going
to try this again?
What else
There
are
we
you
go.
going to do to fix?
Prices have gone up.
Yeah, thanks.
And families and individuals are dealing with the realities of, and we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up. That's about having to stress and stretch limited resources. That's about a source of stress for families that is not only economic, but is on a daily level, something that is a heavy weight to carry. So it is something that we take very seriously, very seriously. And we know from the history of this issue in the United States that when you see these prices go up, it has a direct impact on the quality of life for all people in our country. So it's a big issue and we take it seriously. And it is a priority, therefore.
And people said that Kamala doesn't have a plan. Are you guys serious? I mean, it's not super solid. I mean, I just want to get to the ballot box. Like, when can we make this happen?
What else are you?
I hope it's gonna be the shit going on.
Come on.
What else?
I hope with all the shit going on.
Have you reached it? See if I connect to the US, that will help. I'm sorry, guys and girls. Maybe if I stop sharing for a minute. Switch to X to see if that loads. And I haven't watched this whole thing. I've watched like a minute 29, but this title is, it's from Hank Swank, 68 again. Fauci had Carrie Mullis murdered 3 months prior to COVID-19 to hide the truth of the PCR test. The title was
right now. The CDC is recommending. Right now, the CDC is recommending that you get updated COVID-19 and flu vaccines this fall. The CDC announcing the plan, saying that anyone 6 months or older should get both when they become available. Now, even if you got the shots before, experts say your immunity decreases over time. As we head in the thick of summer here now, 38 states are seeing a rise in positive COVID-19 tests.
Dr. Kary Mullis was awarded the Nobel Prize for his invention of the polymerase chain reaction, the PCR. The PCR is a method of analysis and wasn't designed to test for a virus. Mullis explains why.
And with PCR, if you do it well, you can find almost anything in anybody. It starts making you believe in the sort of Buddhist notion that everything is contained in everything else, right? I mean, because if you can amplify one single molecule up to something that you can really measure, which PCR can do, then there's just very few molecules that you don't have at least one single one of them in your body, okay? So that could be thought of as a misuse of it, just to claim that it's meaningful.
The PCR test can potentially find anything you are looking for, depending on how high you turn it up. And this is exactly what has been done. The official protocol given for the PCR testing of COVID-19 created a floodgate of false positives to skew the result. They call it genetic because it's a lie. People don't have symptoms because they have COVID-19. They do it today because they've done it in the past and always gotten away with it. 30 years ago, Anthony Fauci for higher dose therapy, too dangerous for approval, onto AIDS patients. Kary Mullis was hired to measure
Sorry about that. As soon as I went to fill up my coffee, I got kicked out. And when I try to use my VPN, it is not allowing me to share. And so I'm off of VPN right now, which I don't like doing. Only because right now I'm not sharing what our rogue dictatorship is it wants us to share or know. And yeah, so anyone that actually has something to say that goes against the bullshit tends to be more censored and has internet issues. It's not just me. There's multiple people that have had issues with their internet. Even Dutch Sensei from the US talked about it, where he's had multiple issues, and he believed that it's possibly targeted attacks from people that are trying to jam his internet connection because of what he shares. And this is how censored we are, ladies and gentlemen. I have an extender. I have a great internet package and stuff like that. And it's only when I'm trying to do videos or share information that I seem to have issues. And yeah, it's kind of disgusting.
Few molecules that you don't have at least one single one of them in your body. Okay, so that could be thought of as a misuse of it, just to claim that it's meaningful.
The PCR test can potentially find anything you are looking for, depending on how high you turn it up. And this is exactly what has been done. The official protocol given for the PCR testing of COVID-19 created a floodgate of false positives to skew the results. They call it asymptomatic because it's a lie. These people don't have symptoms because they don't have COVID-19. They do it today because they've done it in the past and always gotten away with it. 30 years ago, Anthony Fauci, head of the NIH, made a name for himself by pushing for higher doses of the deadly drug AZT, an old cancer chemotherapy too dangerous for approval, onto AIDS patients. Kary Mullis was hired to measure HIV in people's blood samples with his PCR. He was working under the premise that HIV was the probable cause of AIDS. But when he went looking for the proof, he found there was none. They just made it up.
What is that paper? Who do I go to for that? And I looked around. I asked a couple of virologists at that company, and they said, no, you don't have to reference. I said, I have to reference that because I don't know where that came from. How do I know that? And it turned out that nobody knew it. And I was getting really freaked about that. That's when I first started saying, they don't know. Nobody really knows. This whole thing.
After Fauci's involvement with targeting homosexuals decades ago, and actually killing or these vaccines, I don't even call them vaccines, these inoculations that were making them sick, that were giving them HIV and AIDS. And by the way, the COVID vaccine, also, that's the side effects as well. And I've shared that. That's in the reports from 2021 and 2022. And I'll reiterate, the VAERS, the vaccine adverse event reports that were reported, only 3 to 5% of actual side effects like that were reported and actually put into the system. Way more than that for this, I call it a bioweapon. I don't know what else to call it. And again, not everyone got sick or an adverse event, obviously, but there was also vials that were silicone, that were saline, that were completely like different than the ones that were making people sick. And I don't care to say it. I don't care how conspiratorial that sounds, because I have the medical, scientific, and government data to back it up, including the excess deaths, including the blood clots and the tumors and the turbo cancers, and the HIV and the AIDS and the even micropenis was on the list, guys. And by the way, people contracted COVID via inoculation and the flu. I've shared that as well. And these are all things that are significant. Okay, so this was even like when people were saying, you can't catch it, you won't get it, you won't spread it. If you get the vaccine, that was such fucking bullshit, Rachel Maddow. And how are you not in jail? How are the coots, people that were trying to speak out on this, and Helen Gruce and my friends that got kicked out of government being of service, how the fuck did they get so impacted and lives ruined? And this bitch, I'm swearing so much, but anyways, oh my goodness, I should retract that. No, I'm not. No, she is a bitch. Spewing garbage that killed people, and she still has a job. And actually, she's one of the highest paid journalists or reporters, because she's just a mouthpiece, a puppet, one of the highest paid journalists or mainstream media, friggin' whatever you want to call it, reporters out there.
It's a big sham.
Mullis pointed out how the CDC was losing money and how the HIV/AIDS connection brought their profits back in the black, and how the men at the highest levels were all in on it. Kary Mullis knew these men were dangerous.
They don't want people like me walking up and asking them those kind of questions, and they're willing to go to great lengths to prevent that. They're out on a limb. I wouldn't want to be there with them.
But he was still outspoken. When ABC's Nightline approached him about doing a documentary on his work, Mullis convinced them to cover the HIV debate after nearly a decade of ignoring it. In a 1994 interview with Celia Farber for Spin magazine, Kerry Mullis expressed how he really wanted to expose Anthony Fauci and Robert Gallo. He said that he'd be willing to chase the little bastard from his car to his office, a Nobel Prize winner trying to ask a simple question from those who spent $22 billion and killed 100,000 people. It has to be on TV. I'm not unwilling to do
So why
something.
isn't the LGBTQ plus XYZ element of P? Why is this group not aware of this or speaking out about this? Like, they all fucking loved him during COVID, and even now, it's just very interesting to me how people do not understand or know the history or the backstories of the people that they idolize.
Something like that. Unfortunately, not many people were listening back then. And on August 7th, 2019, just about 3 months before the first utterance of COVID-19, Kerry Mullis, age 74, a Nobel Prize winner, inventor of the PCR test, a man who was once willing and eager to expose Anthony Fauci, quietly died of pneumonia. The timing of it all is mysterious to many of us.
What is it? What is it about humanity that wants to go to all the details and stuff and listen? You know, these guys like Fauci get up there and start talking. You know, he doesn't know anything really about anything, and I'd say that to his face. Nothing. The man thinks you can take a blood sample and stick it in an electron microscope, and if it's got a virus in there, you'll know it. He doesn't understand electron microscopy, and he doesn't understand medicine. He should not be in.
Doesn't understand germ theory.
Like he's in. Most of those guys up there on the top are just total administrative people, and they don't know anything about what's going on the bottom. You know, those guys have got an agenda, which is not what we would like them to have, being that we pay for them to take care of our health in some way. They've got a personal kind of agenda. They make up their own rules as they go. They change them when they want to, and they smugly, like Tony Fauci, does not mind going on television in front of the people that pay his salary and lie directly into the camera.
He loves it.
You can't expect the sheep to really respect the best and the brightest. They don't know the difference, really. I mean, I like humans. Don't get me wrong, but basically, the vast majority of them do not possess the ability to judge who is and who isn't a really good scientist. I mean, that's a problem. That's a main problem actually with science, I'd say, in this century, because science is being judged by people. Funding is being done by people who don't understand it. Okay, who do we trust? Fauci? Fauci doesn't know enough to, you know. If Fauci wants to get on television with somebody who knows a little bit about this stuff and debate him, he could easily do it because he's been asked. I mean, I've had a lot of people, president of the University of South Carolina asked Fauci if he'd come down there and debate me on the stage in front of the student body, because I wanted somebody who was from the other side to come down there and balance because I felt like, well, these guys can listen to me, but I need to have somebody else down here that's going to tell me the other side. But Fauci didn't want to do it.
Of course he didn't want to do it. Of course he didn't want to do it. There's so much that's gone on in the last week since I've been gone. Let's see what else I have in my stories.
What else?
I hope with all the shit going on with the old Muslim Council, whatever here, that there wasn't hanky-panky in that election.
The absentee ballots are being filled out in people's dining rooms by the candidates.
These guys go door to door and they take people's ballots. They pull them and they give them their ballots up.
Nope.
Joe Biden.
I hope with all the shit going on with the old,
which is unfortunate, but so ballot rigging in the U.S. is actually there's now people. Yeah, I'll play this again.
Muslim Council, whatever here, that there wasn't hanky-panky in that election.
The absentee ballots are being filled out in people's dining rooms by the candidates.
These guys go door to door and they take people's ballots. They pull them and they give them their ballots up.
Joe Biden just stepped down. I'm surprised he didn't fall. surprised he didn't fall. No, he stepped down from the presidential race. He's being replaced by Harris, the current vice president. Wait, does Canada have a vice prime minister? Actually, we won't know if she's the nominee until the Democratic convention. Was that like a trade show with booths and food vendors? No, it's a bunch of people talking about how great they are on stage and then officially voting their party's candidate for presidency. So it's not a convention in the conventional sense. Well, I guess not, no. So when the election happens, the person with the most votes wins. Well, they'd win the popular vote. And they'd be president? Nope. Huh? Well, they have to win states as a whole, and each state is allotted a different number of points called electoral college seats based on the state's population that you get if you win that state. So the president has to go to colleges to get votes. They go to colleges to get... No. Listen to what I'm telling you, Giant. They win a state, they win those seats, and they need to get to at least 270 seats. So when they get that many seats, they're president. No. Then there's another vote. Huh? The Electoral College now votes for the actual president. So after all that, a small group of people vote for who should be president? Yeah, but they almost always vote for the person that won the state they're representing. So let me get this straight. The person with the most votes does not win the election. Rather, they would win based on accumulating an outdated number of each state's Electoral College seats in which those people who hold those seats can choose to vote for somebody who wasn't voted for. Yes. Well, this sounds like a sham. Now you're getting it. Joe Biden just stepped down. I'm surprised he did.
I just wanted to share that.
Joe Biden just stepped down. I'm surprised he didn't.
So that's the last of the stuff that I've shared on my my Instagram. Let's see what my Twitter is before I just get into more videos here. So this was just a funny post from Illuminati bot and that meme guy. Anyways, these warmongers still getting along enough not to break the Antarctic Treaty. Changed my mind. So I've been saying, and multiple other people within my network have been saying that like where there's proxy wars, like the military pharmaceutical industrial complex is pushing events, the Hegelian dialect, creating the chaos and then offering the solution because it makes them money. But of course, they're not going to break any of the ties they have regarding the Antarctic Treaty because that is a significant amount of money that they receive is from pushing the lie about outer space with NASA and RASA and ISS, the space station. It's so much propaganda that's being pushed on us in all aspects of our lives, including the education systems. And so they're of course not going to admit that we didn't go on the moon, that we haven't been in outer space, and that the world as we know it is absolutely not what we're being fed by these propagandists. This is more. Kamala Harris is also a cheater. She's cheated on her husband multiple times, but also he's no gentleman. So exclusive, Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, cheated on ex-wife with daughters Nanny and Goddard. Anyway. From Douglas McGregor from July 31st. Action. First U.S. made F-16s arrive in Ukraine. From Bloomberg. Reaction. Russia launches third stage of non-strategic nuclear drills. More information. Breaking report. Again, this is from a week ago. Missouri AG to sue Biden-Harris administration for transporting illegal aliens across state lines. It's a felony in the state of Missouri to knowingly transport an illegal alien across state lines. I really hope that this is something that also happens within Canada, especially in Ontario, because we've had a surge of immigrants and also illegal immigrants come in. And there's no background checks, there's no criminal record checks or anything. And a lot of these people are changing their names and people are fleeing from other countries where they were even in prison and they were incentivized to, as long as you guys leave this country, then we're going to let you out. We're going to release you early bail, but just get the fuck out of here. And these people are spending money to go in the U.S. through Mexico and through other areas, through other ports and borders. And yeah, and I've shown multiple accounts of that where they're even admitting it. So I know it's all negative news. I'm a negative Nancy right now with everything I'm sharing, but we're at interesting times. Interesting times. This is from Redacted. Global market meltdown, U.S. dollar dumped as recession hits. I haven't watched this, but I've been tracking that as well, where there's been more, stock collapses. There's been more, even with Lockheed Martin, for example. And so bank collapses. There's been, a lot coming out. And I've said this for, my God, that was my prediction again, like even over a year ago for this year. 2 years ago. So easy. They're making it so easy.
Welcome, everybody, to this Black Monday edition of Redacted. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
And on this show, we tend to cover the stories that mainstream media largely ignores. The mainstream media is, of course, covering the massive market meltdowns, but I think they're also burying one of the major underlying reasons in the United States for the market meltdowns. We're going to get to all of what's happening right now as the market nears its close on this Monday. The Dow down 1,000 points, the NASDAQ massive sell-off. Warren Buffett selling 55% of his Apple holdings.
And also the faux shock is what is really getting me like, oh my God, where did this come from?
We've been telling you about it for months.
Nobody saw this coming. Really? Okay, let's all act surprised, even though we are not at all surprised. Also, the United Nations saying maybe they need to call in NATO to enforce not only lockdowns, but vaccines. So if someone with a gun showing up to give you a vaccine, that is literally what one United Nations spokesperson is saying.
We're also going to look at the riots right now in the UK, because the reason this is so important, obviously for the people of Britain, but also why this is a really, I think, a harbinger of things to come for the United States. What's happening right now with the massive amounts of illegal immigrants that have poured into this island, and what it's doing right now to the people who've lived there for decades, the citizens who've been there legally for many, many decades. What's going to happen to the United States when the same thing happens here? We're going to look at the UK riots and its implications today.
Plus, remember when President Biden said that we would not give Ukraine any F-16 fighter jets because that would mean World War III? Well, we did that. We decided to just go ahead and do that because, you know, squeaky wheel gets the oil. Is that how that goes?
Squeaky wheel
That's
gets the grease.
Zelensky. He's the squeakiest wheel. He got his oil. World War III, you guys. How about we do that? Market meltdown, World War III. We're just going to toss them all up in the air and see which one kills us all.
It's all, of course, being manipulated, and it's all being triggered on purpose, guys. They are playing us right now. These globalists are absolutely doing this on purpose. It's all rigged. So don't be surprised when you hear about these things. Suddenly we're going to have emergency rate cuts. The Fed going to get in on emergency slashing of interest rates, all of those things. So we're going to get to the big money market meltdown here in a minute, and what it means for real estate, what it means for your 401k, what it means for all of that. But first, our friends at Lear Capital. I want to tell you about our friends at Lear Capital. Gold, of course, with this news soaring, we're going to see gold, silver going up. That's why, again, we've been warning you about making sure that you have some form of your US dollars invested in precious metals. I don't care how you do it. I don't care where you do it. But our friends at Lear Capital have been a longtime supporter of our show. That's where we do it. And they will ship gold coins right to your house, silver coins right to your house. You can store them in your gun safe. You can store them off-site in a 24-hour protected facility. It's totally up to you. But when the US dollar continues to decline, and it's going to be massively hit hard once these interest rates are cut, the US dollar will again go down, 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 gold going up, 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 and silver going up, up, up. So our friends at Lear Capital can help you get set up with this. Just give them a call. They're a great American company now. All right, let's talk about this Black Monday, as it's being called right now, getting close to the market close here. The Dow tumbling 1,000 points. S&P 500, worst day since 2022. This global market sell-off right now. It's likely we are entering this World War III moment in full swing. Massive drop in stock markets around the world. Iran announcing it's about to attack Israel, which could come at any moment. So we're monitoring that. Japan's stock market is the most affected with a drop of about 10%. So Japan imploding. We'll talk more about Japan in a second, how this is so tied to the US dollar. You want to pay attention to this. Turkish stock market plunging by 7%. Taiwan's stock market also had worst day in 57 years. In Taiwan, NASDAQ plummeting also. Here's how Fox Business reported this. Breaking recession fears. Watch.
History in the making.
What some would call history in the making. Scary. Don't say that.
We have never been down 1,000 points ever, not even intraday on the NASDAQ.
Is that true?
That is true.
Okay. Down 6% right from the get-go. This is heavy big tech. Here we go. Look at them go down. Microsoft is down $20. That's 5%. Alphabet, 5%. Meta, 6%. Amazon, 6%. Apple, 9% down. Let's pull out Apple. This is interesting. A question.
Yeah, guys, and also think about the banks, right? As this is all rigged, they've told us that they don't have enough money to cover the losses.
Yes.
Right. We know this from the FDIC, right?
Yeah.
The Federal Deposit Insurance Commission, right? We know that they don't have the money in the banks. So you want to go get cash out of your bank? Good luck. They will tell you to come back. So I've seen a couple of our friends online today saying, get your money out of the banks. Mm-hmm. Well, good luck with that, because you're not going to be able to get it. You're not going to be able to get your money out of the banks. And the money, if they do use your money, will be to bail in themselves because of this disaster that we're sitting on right now. Not a bailout. They will be bailing in using your money, which they approved. The government signed a law allowing them to bail in your money to get them out of this quagmire right now. So, I mean, think about that. You've got money in the bank, your hard-earned dollars sitting there, and you think, oh, this is protected by the Federal Deposit Insurance Commission. Great. It's not. Even if they tell you it's protected up to $250,000 for your deposits, where do they have all of that money? They don't. They don't have that money to cover those debts.
No, it's less than 4% of the money in our economy exists in paper form.
Right.
We've known this. We've been talking about this for years now.
Oh, we've been warning for months that this was coming. This specific moment was coming. And here we are. Welcome to Black Monday, the largest market crash since COVID lockdowns. Of course, sets the markets into massive sell-off. We are sitting on a precipice of a global financial meltdown right now. And of course, this is all coming right before the 2024 election. It's shocking, I know. They want to control the money system. They want to control the financial system. What better way to do that than to lock everything down, keep you from like pulling your money out of the financial system? So, you know, here's the front page of the Wall Street Journal just a few minutes ago. Dow sinks 700 points, global sell-off intensifies. There are a couple of big parts of the story. Employment, the US dollar, commercial real estate loans all coming due. No one wants to refinance these commercial real estate loans right now into higher interest rates. They've had these 5-year adjustable mortgages. And so that's why all of these office buildings are mostly empty. They're like, well, okay, 40% of our office space is now empty. Are we going to refinance an office building that no one's coming to into a higher interest rate? Again, we've been warning about this for months, and now many of these are coming due right now. Panic also setting in for Japan. Did you want to say something?
Well, I mean, let's just think about the lies that we're told about Wall Street when we're watching American football games and things like that. And we say, you know, and invest in Fidelity, max out your 401k, max out your IRA. So the people who have followed that advice have seen the rugs flip out from under them now on a regular basis. Now, it used to be that economists would say, well, put your money in the market, in the financial market, and it's not timing the market, it's time in the market, but we'll see a major market correction every 10 years. That's what we've been told to expect. Well, now we're seeing them every 5 years. And again, economists who are honest have been warning about this. One of my favorite is Harry Dent, who says we're no longer on a 10-year dump cycle, which it takes 10 years to recover what you lose in those crashes. So
Right.
anyone who has been partnering with the government to invest in the stock market continues to lose, but they keep pushing this crap at you. Again, every time there's an Olympics or a Super Bowl, they max out all that money to tell you to partner with the government to invest in the stock market, and you just keep taking it up the butt if you do that now on a more regular basis.
Right. And the Harry Dent's point is great because everyone's like, oh, well, yeah, all my 401k recovered after 10 years of a recession.
But that means you didn't gain anything.
Yeah. So in 10 years, you mean you just like had your money sitting there waiting for it to carve back? That's 10 years of wasted time.
But you cannot do that if we are going to be on an every 5-year recession, every 5-year stock market crash. And again, why do we do that? Because of government perversion, because we print more money than we use more money than we have. So we print it. And we also invest heavily in foreign wars instead of our domestic production. That's literally it. It's honest and it's true. And nobody will say that other than a few economists who are honest who will get made fun of.
Almost.
I know. And also printing money, what people within Canada and the US, these idiots were doing, it makes you lose the value of your dollar. And this has been throughout history. And that's why even in 2020 and 2021, I was even emailing all levels of government, including Pierre Poilievre, and I even showed you this write-up, this like letter I wrote with links and references and stuff like that, showing that this collapses economies by the printing of the money, and no follow-up or anything like that, which really is frustrating because, you know, people don't understand that even in Venezuela, like even recently, they're throwing out bills because they don't have any value. And if you look at World War I and World War II, there's even accounts of people like with barrelfuls of cash to buy one loaf of bread. Okay, so when you print money like the dummy Chrystia Freeland was doing through the approval of Justin Trudeau, WEF members, made us significantly lose the value of our dollar. So not only were we going through this huge, I don't even know what you would call it, like this, definitely inflation, but like everything has gone up Our mortgages have doubled. Gas prices have gone up significantly. Grocery bills, like literally everything has gone up. Property tax. People now are scamming us and increasing taxes on everything. And as our value of our dollar has gone down, so we're paying a lot more. And then it's even further being exploited by people that are greedy and the ones that are causing the inflation. And using the same tactics that were used, like even recently. That's why I don't understand how Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau are not in jail. I don't understand it. I don't. And anyone that's in cabinet right now, whether it be in the US, Canada, UK, New Zealand, Australia, the fact that people on the other side of the parties that are not in charge have not been screaming at the top of their fucking lungs for this to stop, everything that they've been pushing with these proxy wars, these pandemics, literally everything, and the overreach, the extreme overreach. You know, they need to be speaking up and out and forcing these people out peacefully, obviously, but like a vote of non-confidence. Like there needs to be more done to get these people removed from office. They are destroying our country, and these assholes that are in cabinet getting paid from us, our money, need to be doing their fucking jobs. At some point that'd be nice. Okay, so the people that are working with CSIS and Global Affairs Canada and the RCMP, like multiple like federal agencies, like what the fuck are you guys doing? You're looking at our people like me. You're looking at our posts, our videos. You're trying to threaten and intimidate and coerce us when you should be doing your fucking jobs and doing the opposite of that. Okay, listening to us. We're being peaceful. Like even Jeremy McKenzie has said that he's communicated with CSIS and RCMP and other people peacefully, and Tamara Leach and so many others, and myself. I've offered and even provided them with evidence, and instead I became a target, right? Just like Helen Bruce and other people that were in my network with phones tapped and everything. Not your job. That is extreme fucking overreach for and I hate to say this, for a meter cop. And again, not to slam people that are being of service, but when you are being a literal Nazi, because that's what you're doing, you're being a Nazi. Because there was varying levels of criminality being conducted by Nazis, right? They were calling on people. Like we had those COVID teams, we had these COVID hotlines for like where you could call by law and then report people that weren't following the rules, like all Nazi stuff, right? You don't have to kill Jews to be considered a Nazi. I'm sorry, even though that's some kind of a fucking that's being pushed out there, it's not reality. And even with Wayne Eyre, like this guy like needs to be in jail as well. He was the head of the Canadian Armed Forces, and committed war crimes.
And almost no one will talk about that. Like
there's so much I can get into, but I'll leave this.
This money is going to fight foreign wars right now. They won't talk about the root cause. They're also not talking about what's happening in Japan. And Japan, of course, over the last 24 hours, they've seen their worst decline since 1987. As we reported on this show a few months ago, Japan were sort of bullied into buying up a lot of U.S. debt. They were going to...
I'm going to stop sharing for a bit because I'm talking about law enforcement. I just want to share something that's circulating by a bunch of different groups. But here you have a classic example of a woke DEI hire that doesn't understand her oath to serve and protect.
Okay, so
what do you mean I can't have it?
And I don't even know, like this, like I've worked with a lot of cops, and I've never seen anyone act like this on duty. And so like that's why I'm like there are crisis actors and role players that do put on the military uniforms and the law and cop uniforms and multiple different government agency uniforms, just like January 6th and the Freedom Convoy and multiple other times where events have been staged and planned by government and using government embeds and actors. And so like, is she an actor? I don't know. Because she certainly doesn't act like any cops that I know, men or women.
Of any alcohol.
Okay, well, I'll tell you. Okay, the times...
Well, I'll tell you. And then she's using a fucking phone with like a whatever. Like, where's your watch? Where's your...
23, 1440, arresting you on suspicion of improper use of the electronic...
Hands in her pocket.
Communications network.
What?
And this is not beeping, right? None of the body cam stuff that would usually be activated. Like, it's just all weird. Anyway.
27 Communications Act, okay? So you do not have to say that it may harm your defence if you don't mention one question, something which you later on in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence. Do you understand that?
So I'm actually being arrested.
You're going to be arrested, okay?
Right.
So you got to the police station.
Right.
Actually, okay, this is in relation to some comments that you've made on the Facebook page. Okay.
Oh, really? Oh, it's a Facebook crime, is it?
Okay.
Right.
So we need to ask you some questions about that.
Right.
Have you got anything in your pockets,
Thomas? I've got my keys. I suppose it, I think, keys.
So
and different
anyone who's
gloves.
been arrested, we
Not a
can
big
search
deal,
them
but
with Section 32 Increasing Malevolence Act.
Right.
That's dangerous on criminals.
And he looks familiar. That's why yeah, like there are people that look similar to each other, but he looks very familiar as an actor. And so I would really like it. I'm sharing this video. Like if people can identify these people to see if they're actually cops, I'd be really I would appreciate that a lot. Because if these are cops, my mind is fucking not blown, because like they're doing this all over the world right now. But this is dictatorship, ladies and gentlemen. This is not the oath they took to fucking arrest people for social media posts. And there's already rules for this, and there's already regulations and policies and laws that if you threaten or intimidate anything like that, there's already protocols for that or procedures. And so if he's just posting things that could be considered offensive, well, that's largely dependent on the person that's reading it.
I mean, you said I was going to be arrested under some what information? But I'm going to be arrested for posting on Facebook.
Some comments that are offensive, obscene, and people have made a complaint about that, and it's
Can you tell me what this comment was?
Okay, well, we'll do that when we interview.
All right. And so, what am I going to be locked up for the night, or?
Well, hopefully not.
Right. Do I need to take my medications with me?
Yes, we will look at taking all
Did she just say unless you film us, and then you'll be in overnight?
And can you tell me what this comment was?
Okay, well, we'll do that when we interview.
All right. And so, what am I going to be locked up for the night, or?
Well, hopefully not.
Right. Do I need to take my medications with me?
Yes, we will look at taking all of those.
When do you need to take them?
Well, I've got pain medications. I've got sleeping medication. I've got anxiety medications, which I might take one of those in a bit. Okay. You know.
Well, if we take everything with us, then you've got everything there, haven't you?
And then we've got a nurse up there. They'll be able to. They'll be able to come and see you, and then once you've been there, they can assess whether or not medication can be issued. All right. So what we're going to do is, you want to pop yourself up.
So his medications, but that's been issued by his doctor. They're going to have another cop assess that if he can, or their own medical staff or team assess whether he can take it or not.
Just
All right.
Search.
You need the glasses.
Yeah, search you.
To come with you.
My glasses.
Yeah. Do you want to take them with you?
So this is interesting. I'll go back. Sorry.
Do you want to take them with you?
Oh! Right at the end, that girl, I don't know. She's she was suspicious to me.
Yeah. Do you want
to? She's not saying anything. She's not doing anything. And as soon as I go to pause it, but anyway, she I don't know. It's a very interesting reaction. Anyway, one more. There's a couple of videos I wanted to share, but I can't believe I'm already an hour in. I haven't watched this one yet, but I'm very interested in it. And I do like going off the cuff with my live videos. Oh yeah, and even before I get into this, there's people from InfoWars now that are changing their tune, and actually all over social media, people are changing their tune about the moon landings. Absolutely a hoax and fakes. We've never been to the moon. We've never landed on the moon. And I think it was on this day in history yesterday. It was Neil Armstrong's birthday. He passed away in 2012, but this guy is one of the biggest sellouts to humanity, right? He lied about landing on the fucking moon, being the first man to land on the moon, and smug little fucking attitude also about lying to us. He's an actor. They're all actors. And but anyways, people are figuring it out. This guy's legacy, I hope, is going to be tainted as it should be. So Neil Armstrong, not this hero, but a fucking villain. And the Faucis as well, and multiple other people. This is all coming out. It's all coming out. There's people now, I share this stuff, and people are actually reaching out and messaging me saying, I also, I'm on the same page. I don't think we landed on the moon. I think it was fake. So many more people, are coming out and even admitting it to me and other people. And so this is the year where there's going to be some kind of a great awakening where people are actually going to fucking realize how lied to they were. And people try to say that the truth hurts. And I've said this before as well. I don't think so. Lies hurt. Okay, the truth is what gets you on the path to healing and recovery. It doesn't hurt. It's the lies that hurt. So we need to start telling the truth. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. Are you fucking... I hate that saying because it's ridiculous. Again, another puppet. Because actors, I'd hate to say it, they are the biggest mouthpieces and puppets for the military pharmaceutical industrial complex, and they don't even realize it, right? You've got these famous celebrities like Jennifer Aniston and fucking Lopez and what all those fucking people, and the CIA is directly involved in Hollywood and what narrative they paint, you know, for people like Netflix, mainstream media, cartoons, music, video games. Like this is all painting it's psychological operations, and people don't even realize it. And so these people that are just memorizing lines, you're a mouthpiece. Like, how the fuck do they get millions of dollars and travel all over the world? Like, it's what the fuck, man. It really is. It's interesting times. People like Taylor Swift, who was a CIA asset, people still don't understand that. And there's so many more talented people than her that I even know personally that are way better singers, like Pamela Rooney. And so check her out, right? She's won awards for Nashville and stuff like that. She's from the Gaspé Z. She's an amazing, talented person. And yeah, so there's a lot, there's a lot of talented singers out there that are way better than her, but they're just not suckers and they're just not puppets. Yeah. So I'm not impressed by actors. I'm really not. And I know a lot of people are, or people that are seen as like famous. They're just the biggest brainwashed minions in my humble opinion. And that includes Trump and Elon Musk. These are lobbyist propagandists. They're just lobbyists for the military pharmaceutical industrial complex that's destroying the world right now. So well done. Well done. You can't think for yourself. So you have to get your whole life scripts written out by people that don't have your best interest or my best interest at heart. Anyway, let's see what these people have to say.
We're well aware of the deep state and the quest to silence voices like ours, voices like yours. This is not news. There is a bureaucratic class out to repress anyone who might think differently than they do, to censor those who are not with the program of globalism, to censor anyone who wants to put America first. But for America, the call is coming from inside the House to censor more. In a bombshell report, it has been revealed the Department of Defense, instead of worrying about the growing terrorism at home, or instead of worrying about staving off China, they're deploying resources to fight conservatives. They're spending billions of dollars to shut down, censor, smear, and ban ads from conservative websites. OEN has gone up against the DOJ before. Do we also have the DOD to worry about as well? This also comes on the heels of another report showing the State Department giving the Taliban $239 million while our vets here at home struggle. Joining us now is Mike Benz, founder of the Foundation for Freedom Online. Mike, it's great to have you back.
Great to be with you.
How are these funds being used to silence conservatives? What does the process actually look like?
Well, the Pentagon has moved fully into control over media. There's been this big push since the 2016 election where the military class has felt that the populist upswing within the populace, both in the US and all across NATO on the other side of the Atlantic, have led to the rise of political candidates and political movements who challenge the established orthodoxy, the agenda, the menu items, shall we say, of the various countries that the Pentagon seems to desire to gobble up, and they require the funding of the American taxpayer in order to achieve their objectives. The Pentagon gets more money than any other federal department, gets almost $900 billion a year just from taxpayers. And so if people either from the populist right, from the Donald Trump side, or from the populist left, the 2016 style Bernie Sanders side, want to cut military funding for whatever reason, well, that crushes the military and their objectives. And so they've moved into control over the media in order to control elections, in order to secure the military agenda. Now, there's a rich history here of the Pentagon funding domestic censorship groups. It was reported 2 years ago that NewsGuard had a $750,000 Pentagon contract for creating misinformation fingerprints. This new report from the Foundation for Freedom Online shows billions of dollars from all four of the big four advertising agencies getting billions of dollars in federal contracts, the lion's share of which is from the Pentagon. So, for example, Omnicom, which is one of the largest, it gets has a $4 billion Pentagon contract. Publicis, which is deeply connected to NewsGuard, is affiliated with their seed funding and on their board of directors. Also gets something like $1 billion in contracts, also from the HHS. So what you have here is this misinformation censorship being done by the ad agencies, where they've all applied these filters to cut off the billions of dollars in ad flow that they control of all the blue chip companies who go to these agencies to distribute programmatic ad dollars online. And since 2016, in order to control the rise of right-wing populism being fueled by unfiltered alternative news, they've now set up these filters to stop the flow of funds to places like OAN or places like Gateway Pundit or places like Breitbart, or really, frankly, anyone who challenges the State Department or Pentagon or CIA party line. We used to call this Operation Mockingbird when it was done in the 1950s to the 1970s, but now it's done through these, basically back-channeled ad agencies. As I mentioned, Publicis is deeply entwined with NewsGuard, and NewsGuard has on its board of advisors General Michael V. Hayden, former head of the CIA, NSA, four-star general, Anders Fogh Rasmussen, the former head of NATO, Tom Ridge, the former head of DHS, Rick Stengel, the former head of the Secretary of the State Department's Global Engagement Center. So this is a who's who of the apex predators of the national security state, controlling news, and not just news, the news economy, the flow of ad dollars.
For all our viewers asking where One America...
There's so much more. Like, this is just going to be like a huge news and update day. Okay, so I just want to pause this. Tim Walz smiling as he signs a law that provides driver's licenses for illegal aliens in Minnesota. He wants all of America to do the same. This guy is as radical as it gets. So what are your thoughts on illegal immigrants getting access to driver's licenses? This is the state of Minnesota, like I said. And there are people that drive drastically different in different countries. I can attest to that because I've driven all over the world. I've driven in, my God, Costa Rica, multiple places in Spain. Sorry, in Europe, well, Spain included in that, the Middle East, you friggin' name it, Africa. Like I've literally driven in like all over the U.S., all over Canada, multiple times, and there is a significant difference in the way people drive in other areas as opposed to Canada. And I'm already seeing in the last few years, there's been a lot more ridiculous driving going on, and aggressive driving and accidents that are easily avoidable. Like actually, even on my drive here, there was a guy that was cutting people off, going in and out of traffic, and eventually within 10 minutes of passing me after cutting me off as well, ended up following two, and he was tailgating people, right? And so some people, when they're uncomfortable with that, they tap their brakes. And so what happened was this guy was following so close that he tapped his brakes. This is what I'm assuming because I have the pictures to show it, like just the lineup of vehicles. And so the guy would have likely tapped his brakes, or the girl that was driving in front, getting tailgated, enough to make him smash in to the vehicle. And then there was two other vehicles as well that were like behind that ended up like not being able to avoid it because again, there was multiple lanes of traffic you couldn't like swerve over because of one fucking idiot. And yeah, so there's just a lot more avoidable accidents, people that are in the passing lane that are going well below the speed limit even. And people are even sharing videos, like Jeremy McKenzie shows videos as well, where these people say that they admit to doing this intentionally from other countries because they want to piss us off. Okay, so even, anyways, I won't get too much into it, but it's a reality. That video that I wanted to share with you, where I was talking about voter fraud. So this is from Mark Pincus. So breaking, Muslims in Michigan using voter fraud according to Dem officials. WTF. So this is even Democrats saying that there's a lot of voter fraud that's happening, and that did happen in Michigan. And yeah, they go door to door and take people's ballots. They bully them, intimidate. They steal, there's even auctions, they auction off as well. And so this is something that's really happening. And people just don't care, or they're too afraid to say anything because, oh my goodness, can't say anything because I'm going to sound like a racist. No, you're not. When you share facts about people that are fucking with your country, it's actually your civic duty to like address it. Again, in a peaceful way, because we're not a third world country, we're a first world country, or at least we used to be. And so there's a way to do this peacefully. And this is why, like, these fucking feds that are going after people that are like hate speech online, or offensive. Again, like offensive, it has to do with like who is reading it, right? Like there's a lot of soy boy and girl, like really fucking princess like people now that are offended by everything. And so if they're offended, well then, you know, they're offended by everything. Like why? Anyway. Do better. I'm venting so much. I apologize so much. I don't want these videos to be negative because I'm not negative in my personal life. But some of this stuff really just gets to me because, again, like I said, it causes death, it causes suffering. Like especially with the lies for like future generations, even about like space stuff and like the actual shape of the earth. Like this is so silly to me that people are not getting it yet. Like people that are paid to get it, they ain't getting it.
Unload a lot of U.S. treasuries, and Jerome Powell, the Fed, basically said, "Please don't do that. Please don't do that. We'll give you, we'll give you support in other ways, but please don't dump U.S. treasuries. It'll really send things into a free fall." Well, guess what? Japan right now is in a world of hurt. They are the largest holder of U.S. treasuries. They wanted to start dumping U.S. debt last year, but of course, Powell went in and said, "Don't do it. Don't now." And now Japan raising interest rates. Every other country slashing interest rates. They're raising interest rates because the yen is circling the toilet. So they needed to do something. Well, guess what? When you raise interest rates to help the yen, that hurts the US dollar. See how this works? So we're going to talk more about Japan later in this week. I'm working on a full report right now about Asia because that is really a major piece of this story. But since at least 2023, speculators borrowed money in Japan at near zero interest rates, and then they converted their borrowed yen into US dollars. And that's not going to work. That's a recipe for disaster. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? Was it robbing Peter to pay Paul? Something like that. So this has driven the yen into the toilet, a total disaster. Now something happened which triggered overnight the SAM rule recession indicator. So everyone wants to start, are we in a recession? The Biden administration changed the definition of what a recession is.
That's why, like, what do we call it? Inflation, recession, they're changing the terminology for this stuff.
Lock the Wikipedia page.
But at the end of the day, they're still making it where our dollar in first world countries are losing their value. And we're seeing this in third world countries where they're even, again, burning and putting in dumpsters their bills. Like, we're not at that level yet, but like, let's try not to. Like, let's start firing people and investigating people and arresting people already. That'd be nice.
Page about recession, so you can't go in and make edits. Isn't that amazing? Like the Biden administration is like, you know what? Hey, we're in a recession. You know, we'll just change the definition of recession, and then we'll have our powers that be lock the Wikipedia page so no one can actually make edits to the Wikipedia page. I love it. Anyway, the SAM rule, recession indicator. You want to talk about this? This is really fascinating because we had it in the newsletter this morning. A lot of people don't know what this is, but I think to our audience, it is maybe to the layperson, it's a really important indicator.
So it's when a 3-month average drops by 0.5%. So unemployment right now, the 3-month average is, 4.1%. At this time last year, it was in the 3.5% range. So when unemployment drops by at least 0.5 percentage point from the previous time last year, that is an indicator since the 1970s that has been an indicator of a coming recession, if not depression. Now, something that, again, we like to platform economists who are honest about this. I can mention a few: Harry Dent, Carol Roth, Peter St. Onge. One thing that Peter St. Onge said just this morning is that only normies don't think we've been in a recession. Regular people who live in the real world understand that we felt like we've been in a depression for months and months. It's just normies in the media who pretend this is brand new information, just to quote Phoebe from Friends. That is brand new information.
Just like figuring out Biden has dementia. What?
Yeah.
We had to wait for a CNN debate to learn this information?
Yeah.
You didn't know that Biden has dementia? Oh my God.
No.
Yeah. We just found this out.
Right. Shocked. I'm shocked.
I'm sitting here counting all this money I have because what you're saying, the dollar crashed too.
Sorry, I'm just going to get back on here. So an interesting thing, there's something called type 3 diabetes, which is an accumulation of sugar in the brain. And so this can present itself as ADD, ADHD, dementia, Alzheimer's. And so just like I've said before, like an excess of sugar in the blood can lead to, the excess of sugar in the eyes leads to glaucoma. Excess of sugar in the blood actually leads to what they're calling diabetes, but I consider it to be like inflammatory illnesses that could be mitigated by reducing glucose or sugar intake. And accumulation of sugar in the brain, again, leads to what I just mentioned. And so an accumulation of sugar in various organs or vital parts of the body, it leads to significant health issues, chronic health issues. And I think even cancer as well. So that's why when people fast for extended periods of time, there have been multiple accounts of people healing like what were classified as terminal illnesses or diseases just because of that. And so look into it. And then obviously excess of sugar in the teeth causes cavities. Anyway,
I don't
there's
understand.
so many different examples.
You need to get out of your Scrooge McDuck swimming pool and take a look around you. Read the room.
Spitting coins while you swim on a backstroke in this. So the SAM rule has a 100% accuracy rate for recession, predicting recession. But the biggest part of this is employment. Okay, so that's part of the SAM rule, this employment problem right now. And the biggest piece that no one's talking about, because they won't talk about it in the mainstream media, God bless this individual for actually mentioning it, though, I can't believe he did, is illegal immigrants taking American jobs. So Americans losing their jobs over here and then being replaced by illegal immigrants. That's the real story here on the employment crisis. Watch.
What about the recession? Are we headed to recession?
I believe we are. And Stuart, it's been the consumer. The consumer drives 70% of the market, and the consumer has been pushed to the brink, and we're starting to see that. Now, there's been this false belief that the strength of the employment market, that it had to do with the amount of employees that are being hired. What is in reality is that 1.2 million Americans, U.S. citizens, lost their jobs, which were replaced by 1.3 million foreign-born or illegal immigrants. That is U.S. labor statistics. That shows that the labor market was never as strong as it was, and a lot of the new jobs being created by part-time workers, it's never been as strong as it was. Now you're going to see layoffs, and there's going to be more carnage in the future, leading us to a deeper recession.
So, okay. Yeah, a number of factors here, right? You have these overinflated reliance on 7 big tech companies, Magnificent Seven. And you have this over-reliance on what is NVIDIA doing? What is Google doing? What is Alphabet doing? What is Apple doing? All of that.
Right. We talked about the tech job layoffs that have been over the last 6 months, just 2 weeks ago. Yes.
And then you have an employment piece of this, which they don't want to talk about. Americans losing their jobs, being replaced by illegal immigrants. This is a big piece of it.
This is in Canada as well. And so another tangent, but it's pushing these 15-minute cities that people are trying to claim are carbon neutral. No, these are surveillance state prisons that people are going to be in, and they're not going to be doing anything to counteract all the waste and the usage that within that community, right? And so much more overreach and control, and I just don't understand it. And so in Canada, we're seeing a lot of people that are getting flown in or driven in or shipped in, and they're working crops too, right? So agriculture and pesticides and chemicals and all this shit, like literally like not treating our soil properly at all, where you need to have like more deeper root systems, and even the soil itself, it's getting way more compact and hard and compressed, and it's not supposed to. It's supposed to easily absorb in water and be more oxygenated and things like that. And it's because of the way these people are growing and tilling the land, and then they're getting flown back out. So they're taking jobs like away from people that I know personally, because even in Gaspé, I know guys that were even doing construction, general labor, and even truck drivers that got fired and replaced because people are getting flown in, and it's significantly less money that they're paying them. But they're also paying them their room and board, their transportation fees, all of this. So, what this does is it creates it where people are losing their skills. They're skill fade. They're not able to farm like we used to and like we should be. Not managing the land or the resources like food and things like that as well, growing crops like they used to sell locally and also within the major cities within Canada. Okay, so we're getting more and more reliant on slave labor, or whatever you want to call it, and or people coming in us and really not doing a good job with sustaining again the resources for future generations, and then they're going away. And so what's going to happen again is if there's stuff like that, we're fucked, or not we, but the people within these areas are fucked, because they're not going to get their resources shipped in. None of these people, again, within these cities even, or these suburbs that we see within Canada, They're not growing their own food. They're not raising the animals and butchering them and cutting them up into the meat that they eat every single day. They're not assisting with the energy grid. None of that stuff. Like nothing, right? So like literally you're reliant on other people to sustain your life. Like you're doing nothing for yourself. And I mean, no offense in that, but it's just a reality. And so we should have it in Canada, where we have at least 60% of people living in a rural type environment to manage resources, right? Whether it be the energy system or the energy grid of various capacities. I'm talking solar, electrical, nuclear, hopefully, like if that comes back as free energy, because it's very effective. And then the petroleum industry. Like this should be managed internally and locally, and it's not just people coming in from other countries, and they're also sabotaging people within Canada that are trying to do their own drilling. Because again, there's also an oil monopoly, which is part of the military pharmaceutical industrial complex and international oil since the dawn of time. And then people need to be managing the soil, like I said, and ensuring that the trees are survive and grow and with deep root systems, and then even crops having deeper root systems. And not I grow food as well, and people within Gas Bay grow food, or they used to. A lot of again, farms are closing down, and there's only actually one farm left in Gas Bay, which is surprising. Show, but be self-sustaining, and our provinces also need to be self-sustaining and not overly reliant on handouts and bailouts and things like that, and or things getting shipped in. So a lot of people are also like there's an increase in trucker jobs now because and there's people that are even illegal immigrants that are coming here, and they're on our transports, very dangerous vehicles. And again, my stepfather has been a miles logged and 0 traffic accidents or speeding tickets. And where was it going with that? Oh yeah, and so like we're going to be looking at massive like just shipments, and that's all Canadians are going to be doing. Like if they even get those jobs, like it's going to be not like it used to be and like it should be. And even in cities, right? Like we're getting more heat, more of an impact of heat. Well, trees, when you shred them and especially in cities and suburbs, like you need to have trees to provide a canopy. It assists with the filtering the like the atmosphere like around you, like the air. Okay, so if they're like too far away, that's actually not helping people in areas where you're living with a lot of pollution, and that's why places like India and China and Brazil and it's because of there being no fucking trees or wildlife or soil in the area to provide so many benefits that are needed in order to assist in regulating the temperature. And then there's also these contrails and chemtrails that are with particles being emitted above us, right, that are causing a barrier, like some kind of a radiation belt, if you want to look at it, that's beyond that, right? So it's getting pushed back down as well. And then there's like also with pavement, which is black, and then buildings where like there's a lot of heat that's also being permeated, or whatever you want to call it, that's being implemented in the and then overusing the electrical grid as well, that causes an increase in heat. And yes, we're doing a lot of things wrong, and we're trying to call it climate change. But yeah, you're changing the climate because you're a fucking idiot. And I mean, no offense, but Stephen Guilbeault, like he's the climate change friggin' expert, and this guy is doing the complete opposite of what a fucking climate change expert should be doing, right? And I've reached out to him as well for over the years and multiple other people to back it up and studies that have come out, and this guy has not fucking followed up at all. And it is what it is. Again, a completely huge tangent, and I do that, and I'm sorry. But yeah.
I see people in the chat saying, why don't we know about this? Do you think the mainstream media is going to report a Biden?
People have already forgotten how to hunt, how to fish, how to grow anything. Like this is critical levels, right? Like people would rather, even like young men would rather like work at AT&T or McDonald's or anything like that than actually work on a fucking farm. And it's your quality of life would be significantly better if you were actually in a rural area. Trust me, especially now.
mainstream media right now, corporate media, is going to report and tell you the truth about the employment picture in the United States? They are not.
No,
They're not going to.
independent media has been, though. That's why I am not shocked today.
Yeah, I know. I'm not surprised at all about this. And if you understand Japan, again, deeper connections there in the history with the U.S. Treasury and the reliance on U.S. dollars and U.S. debt, that is a big, big piece of it. Go ahead, Philip.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say that one of the things, yeah, with the dollar and like why the stock market is kind of going down with it is because these people that were borrowing against the yen, that were borrowing yen, were actually investing that in the stock market. And now these margin calls have come, and with the interest rates up, they have less money. They have to sell everything off basically to make the money to pay back the what they did. You know, so it's just like it's like a big Ponzi scheme. I only know that because of Reddit. Like I hadn't heard that anywhere else. You just won't see it
exactly.
out there.
So converting your yen to US dollars, then buying the NASDAQ 100, and then these margin call Monday hits, and you have to pay it back. Boom. Right. I mean, this is a big piece of it, but not the only piece.
And so interesting that so many trading platforms had outages or shortages or some kind of small crash today. Like, oh, you can't sell right now with the rest of who can sell? Not you. Right.
Yeah.
So that's another piece of it that we will continue it to unfold before us. And I'm sure we'll see congressional hearings about how that happened. Why that happened? Were we prepped for it by the outage 2 weeks ago that affected the airline industry and the banks? You know, it seems like suspicious timing.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's again, how it's rigged, right? Of course it's rigged. I saw, let's see, someone coming in the chat here. Yeah. Anyway, there's a couple of people here who are saying Steve Sarsic says that 1929 all over again. A lot of people who were ready and planned for this. We've been, again, covering this on the show for months. This shouldn't come as a surprise to any of you guys who are subscribed to our channel here and who watch us on a regular basis. Donald Trump posting this on Truth Social just a few minutes ago, saying Japan down 12%, India down 6%, Germany way down also, U.S. really bad. This is a preview of the world markets without Donald J. Trump in the White House. None of this happens if Trump is in. Kamala and the markets don't go together. She'll destroy the markets. She's in power now, and look at what is happening. 1 week of the fake media saying better polls and you get a market crash. The legendary Howard Lutnick.
Okay, but the first rounds of COVID stimulus, which was a massive wealth transfer, would have not been necessary.
I don't trust Trump. Like I can't understand why people can't wrap their heads around that. They don't understand that he's like the like to some people he's the evil villain, and there's popularity in that, and then other people, like a large majority, he's the hero. You do not see it for what it is.
Had we actually followed science on COVID, so that began the last recession around COVID. So I think that there's. I don't want to have false idolatry here, like one person has the answer to this when clearly it's a systemic problem.
Clearly. And, but markets are moved right now by some of the horse trading right now. Is Trump going to be president? Is Kamala going to be president? And all of these polls over the past few weeks and all of this effusive love from the mainstream media, the corporate media, that's like, Kamala's our girl. Right, that has now moved to these indicators, and the odds of Trump becoming president have declined. I'm calling it the Kamala crash today. So people are saying online, "Oh, it's the Kamala crash." Okay, so obviously politics back and forth here. Donald Trump, Kamala Harris playing games with this right now, but Kamala Harris, I think she's really strong on the economy, and she was just asked, how will she handle inflation? How will she handle the sort of stagnation?
I already showed you that. Mess it up. Might be a big mistake, but I'm going to try to refresh. I only fast forwarded it because I had already shared that clip. Stop sharing to see if it helps. Still loading. Okay, I'm going to put the link in StreamYard so that you can watch the full video. My internet was so bad that it took a few minutes to even get it on StreamYard. Okay, anyway. Having trouble connecting. So anyways, on that note, I don't want to keep that. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful